Hey everybody, I hope you all had a good October. I certainly did. We saw a lot of good movies this month. Some were less good than others, and some were just kind of not good in the first place. But we saw some movies, and as is the way we're doing things now, it's the end of the month, I'm gonna talk about them. We got 6 movies to talk about today, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. First on the list, we have The Apprentice. This is a biopic / character study about Donald Trump and his relationship with conservative fixer and lawyer Roy Cohn. And this was fucking great. Right out of the gate, it's got a really strong aesthetic. There's this sort of like grimy, grungy filter to everything. There's a lot of shaky cam, a lot of handheld, lots of zooms. Very reminiscent of Succession in terms of the way it's shot, in terms of the way it uses its music. The biggest thing at the end of the day that this movie is a character study and a performance showcase of both Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump and Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn. And honestly, both of them are phenomenal, especially Jeremy Strong. I would not be upset at all if he got his first Oscar nom for this. Sebastian Stan, honestly, too, though, was really great. In fact, I'd actually say I preferred his performance. There were aspects to the character his performance created that didn't entirely come from him, that came more so from the prosthetics and the way the movie made certain choices about presenting his character, as opposed to Roy Cohn, who I found compelling pretty much entirely because of Jeremy Strong's performance. But yeah, Sebastian Stan is absolutely great. He kind of builds up the Trump dialect over the course of the movie. Like, at the beginning, he's very much talking like a normal guy, and by the end, he's doing the whole Trump, like thing. Getting to see it sort of get built up is one of the most entertaining aspects of his performance. And also Maria Bakalova is great as Ivana Trump as well. This movie isn't perfect, there are a few things that hold it back. I think it's not paced great, there are far too many like just abrupt time jumps or plot lines that just sort of don't flow well into one another. This definitely feels like a movie that had a much longer rough cut that was significantly hacked down in the editing room. There's also a minor gripe I had with the technical decision they made. Basically, there's this like film grain filter applied to scenes that take place in the 70s and a VHS digital filter applied to scenes that take place in the 80s. But instead of actually using older cameras to shoot these scenes, they're just shot on modern cameras with a post-production filter applied. And sometimes it looks great, and other times it's really jarring and clashing and weird. Ultimately, though, I think the final product is one of the finest films of the year. It's well crafted from a filmmaking standpoint, it's incredibly well written, the performances are great, there's a lot to chew on, and I'm giving it a very high 4 stars, very high 8 out of 10. It might be a 9 on a rewatch, I don't know. The next movie we're gonna talk about is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. This one was not so good. This kind of felt like watching a direct-to-VHS sequel, like, straight out of the 90s, except it was in a movie theater and it had an $100 million budget. I really don't understand what the fuck happened with this movie. It's honestly terrible. There is just so little for me to say, because there's so little for you to grab onto as a viewer other than Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Like, I have my notebook here of the notes I make while I'm in the theater watching the movie, and like, I could go through this, but it's just kind of the same thing over and over again. The characters are one-dimensional. Jenna Ortega is not good. This is boring. I had way more fun trashing this movie in my notebook than I did actually watching it. It left such a bare, minimal impression on me, and I really only think I've been holding anything about it in my head because I wanted to review it for this channel. Michael Keaton is great as Beetlejuice. I do have to give him that. I'm giving this movie serious bonus points for his performance, but everything else, It's real fucking rough. I really would not recommend this movie under, like, any circumstances. Unless maybe you're having, like, a Halloween movie night and you have friends who, like, insist on watching it or something. It's just a real big fucking nothing movie. Giant nothing burger. 4 out of 10, 2 stars. It was not good. And next on the list is The Jokester 2. And believe it or not, I actually liked it. I'm just gonna come out and say it now. Comic book fans are a bunch of fucking pussies who don't like musicals and wrote this movie off without even giving it a chance. There's not a whole lot to this movie. It is very much a one-trick pony. Once you've kind of worked out, oh, it's just doing its own thing and flipping off comic book fans, it definitely loses a lot of its luster. But there's enough to latch onto here that I found it an enjoyable enough experience. It's pretty creatively shot. There's some well-lit and fun sequences. The contrast between Joaquin Phoenix's really hoarse and, like, bad singing with the really, like, kind of sweet and sugary good singing of Lady Gaga is this lovely contrast that I think adds a lot to the musical numbers. And honestly, the musical numbers themselves are fun. I don't think they're great. I think especially they have an issue in that every time one happens, the movie's plot just grinds to a halt. And I also think that the plot is probably the weakest aspect of the movie. My main gripe with it is that it just doesn't stand on its own two legs. It's fun to be like, fuck the incels, but once you get past that, there's nothing else to latch on to, and you're just kind of watching a mediocre comic book movie. It was fine. It was better made on a filmmaking level than most comic book movies. I enjoyed it more than I probably would the average Marvel DC joint. I don't think I will ever watch it again. And this one's getting like a low, just like a normal 3 stars, 6 out of 10. It was fine. Next up, we have The Substance. And oh my god, I cannot speak highly enough about this movie. I'm going to keep what I have to say very fucking brief, partly because I want to fit everything into a short enough time period to use the song that's currently playing, but also because I just do not want to spoil anybody else's theater or at-home experience for this film. The less you know going in, the better, but if you don't trust me, then I'll give you a bit more to bite on too. This movie is presented so strikingly. With the exception of Blink Twice, no movie has grabbed me by my shoulders in its opening moments the way that this movie did. And it is just a tour de force in every way from that point out. The cinematography is inspired and filled with meaningful and well-framed shots. The editing and music and color grading serve as just this audio-visual, like, just delight. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley and really even Dennis Quaid are giving it their absolute all when it comes to the acting. The effects, both digital and practical, are some of the highest quality I've seen in a movie in my life. And there's so much substance to this fucking movie. There's so much to chew on. There's so much to talk about. I saw this movie with my roommates and my best friend a few weeks ago, and I feel like I could still probably just like start up a conversation and we could all just like have new thoughts and conclusions that we've come to over the past few weeks about it. I am going to watch this movie again and again and again. It is the best movie of this year. Maybe something else will come out that's better, but I fucking doubt it. If you only see one movie that I recommend on this channel this year, AD 2024, make it this fucking movie. Make it The Substance. 10 out of fucking 10. Next on the list is Terrifier 3. This one was bad. I don't have notes for this one because it was bad. I did not watch this one in a theater. I watched it in a manner that would very much upset David Lynch. Basically, me and a bunch of roommates sailed the high seas to obtain a copy and watched it at home, because I had seen the first Terrifier and I fucking hated it, and I didn't watch the second one, and I just kind of wanted to be able to include this in my October vid, because, like, I'd heard it was, you know, the best one, and, like, you know, it's kind of relevant to Halloween or whatever, you know, maybe there'd be some substance here. But oh my fucking god, this thing is bad. There's points I have to give it, because the gore is terrifically executed on both a level of the makeup and the practical effects, in terms of the sound design, in terms of the music, the editing. The experience of the violent torture scenes is exactly what it's meant to be, and I do love that shit. The problem is, like, everything else. Every single time one of these torture scenes ends, we cut back to these fucking teenagers and their stupid podcast, and it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm here to watch a clown disembowel people. I think we made it about 40 minutes in before we just started fast-forwarding to the gore scenes. Yeah, and honestly, it was really only the first 20 minutes we were actually paying attention. The second half of that 40-minute period, we were talking over everything that was not gore. This is a 1 out of 10 movie with like 8 or 9 out of 10 gore scenes sprinkled through it. Watch it on streaming if you're a sick fuck like me who can skip through to the fun parts. 4 out of 10. I think it's a low 4 out of 10. Yeah, 2 stars. And lastly, we have Venom, The Last Dance. And, man, it was a movie. It's Venom 3, like, it's Venom 3. What the fuck do you, I think it was my own fault that I went into this movie expecting anything. Tom Hardy is fun, there's a Venom horse, there's Venom gambling in Vegas. It's exactly what you'd expect. There's a forced-in family to appeal to American sensibilities because it's a movie produced by Avi Arad. There is terrible CGI. There are countless British actors giving just awful American accents. There is just nothing. There's nothing for me here. It was fun to go with my friend and roommate to go and get drunk and watch it, but it impacted me in, like, no way at all. Literally, I just got back from the theater, like, half an hour ago, and it's already just fading from my mind. It's also not really clear if this is the last Venom movie. Like, this is the 3rd one, and clearly these are turning less of a profit because they cheaped out on the VFX for this one. But this movie ends so inconclusively. I really don't understand what they're doing, because it's not like a satisfying conclusion for all the Venom fans, but it's also just not like a fun ride that would get you desiring a sequel. It was a movie, and yeah, I think I'm gonna give this one a low 2.5 stars. It's more like a 2-star movie, but I enjoyed it enough, and again, Tom Hardy is fun. Yeah, 5 out of 10. It was a movie. And that's gonna do it for the October roundup. I hope you all had a great month. We've got lots of fun stuff to see and review for November. We have Anora, we have Conclave, we have A Real Pain, we have the new Robert Zemeckis, we have the new Gladiator. There's gonna be some good stuff, there's gonna be some fun stuff, and I am excited to chat with you all about some more movies. So, until next time, toodaloo!